Welcome everyone. My name is Alex McGuire. I am the Vice President and Supply Chain Officer for GDIT. I'm here today to facilitate a discussion on the topic of logistics and supply chain management services, which are critical to the mission across so many domains. If you stop and think about it, our enterprises, whether they're commercial or governmental, cannot function without an effectively managed supply chain. GDIT itself has more than 50 years experience providing the largest scale supply chain management solutions for civilian, defense, and intelligence customers. In fact, no other systems integrator has the reach back that GDIT does, being a part of General Dynamics, a Fortune 100 company. Today we have Melissa Frye with me to help discuss the criticality of logistics and supply chain. Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Frye, Senior Program Director in our Federal Civilian Division here at GDIT. I've been with GDIT for over 13 years between contracts and program operations. In my current role, I run our Global Security, Engineering, and Supply Chain contract for our Department of State Diplomatic Security customer. This provides an end-to-end supply chain management and facility security engineering, and it assesses the security posture of our embassies, posts, and consulates worldwide.
Thanks, Melissa. So talk to us a little bit about how your work experience ties into the logistics mission facing our government customers. And specifically, if you could get into what are some of the interesting challenges facing your teams when approaching these logistics missions?
Our mission is a critical life safety mission. We're responsible for that end-to-end supply chain from procurement all the way to over the embassy wall for those security technology products that are protecting our embassies, posts, and consulates worldwide. So I'm probably biased, but it is an exciting mission to me. Some of the challenges that we face are, we can plan and we can plan and we can plan until we're blue in the face, but we really are at the mercy of that global environment, that geopolitical climate that we can't predict. So if you've seen the news, I'm sure you tune in from time to time, it's unpredictable. And that's been kind of the challenge serving this customer over the past decade. We do all the pre-planning and we have the inventory, and then a world event happens. And so how do we posture ourselves to be ready for that contingency operation? And so we kind of face that challenge head on with the customer, and we procure and pre-position stock to support that surge in contingency. So if something happens worldwide, we're ready to deploy.
Yeah, so you said a lot there. That's a really big job, right, with a lot of responsibility. So one of the things that I wanted to explore a little bit more, right, is that reach back. Right, we just talked about the fact that GDIT is part of the bigger General Dynamics, a Fortune 100 company. So I would imagine, right, that where you don't have things, on the shelves, right, surprises come, right? And having that reach back, how does that help you in order to actually make sure that you get the right things to the right places on time?
Yeah, I think that being part of the larger, GDIT has reach back all in itself, right? A multi-billion-dollar company. We work with your team day in and day out, right, to make sure that we have that support, but also to be able to scale that back to larger GD. I mean, it sets us apart from our competitors. So yeah,
I agree with you. But even with that, right, with having that reach back, that's not everything. The other thing that you talked about there that I think is really important, is you talked about preparedness, right? The fact that you can't, prevent everything, right? But talk a little bit more about what preparedness means for you and your team in terms of processes, in terms of how you actually prepare for the unpreparable, right?
Right. Yeah, we have that through our business process. We also have that through our rapid response capability. So we have a requirement to respond in a certain number of days or hours even to certain threats. And so my team is, if we get one of those requests, all hands are on deck, and we're following that ConOps to get the material out the door. So.
That's great. So Melissa, how has the logistics mission evolved in the past several years for you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was front and center for everybody, right, over the past 4 or 5 years. Supply chain became a hot topic, right? But really it's that supply chain disruption with the availability of products and commodities. And that's something we have to deal with every day. And so we've had delays from transportation delays in Long Beach, port congestion. We've had, the Suez Canal closure. We've had, the instability around the Red Sea. And those are things we deal with every day. And so, I think the way that our teams work best together is we have that trusted and vetted supplier base that we have ready to go to be in this mission with us. And so when the market's constrained, when there's a surge effort, when we have to pivot to procuring items that we've never procured before because of world events, I mean, having that trusted supplier base has been just critical to our operation.
Yeah, and really, what I feel like you're talking about there that's worth calling out is supply chain risk management, right? Because you talked about availability, you talked about ability to deliver, right? About a trusted supply base, right? And can't really do that, right? It almost sounds simple in the way that we were presenting and talking about it here, right? But like anything that's really difficult, it looks simple if you kind of have your processes down, right? But really, at the heart of it, what we're talking about is supply chain risk management, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so maybe we could talk a little bit more about that in terms of, how do you go from all the challenges that you've just talked about to being able to react, right? Using a supply chain risk management program.
And I think that in the past 5 years, more nefarious actors have shown up, and the customer wants things faster. They want that commercial, they want that Amazon effect, right? And so they want their things yesterday, but we are that trusted partner that is making sure that the things that we're buying for our customer are the right choices and that they're vetted through that supply chain risk management process that your team has.
Yeah, what you just said was so illuminating, right? Because the end customer, right, whoever that is, really just wants their stuff, right? And they want to know that they're getting it securely. But in order to do that, right, you and I have seen firsthand that you have to start with the foundational, right? And that really starts with, what are the risks you're going to track, right? And coming up with those 60 to 100 distinct risks, knowing what they are, right? Because it could be cyber, right? We know it could be delivery. We know it could be counterfeit products, right? It can be so many different kinds of risks. So you really need to know what are those risks, right? And then I think what's been critical to our teams, right, is really making sure that each person in the process, right, whether they're in supply chain, whether they're in warehousing, whether they're in cyber or legal, everybody knows what they need to do, right, with respect to each risk, right? That they know the process, that they know the procedures, they know the whys, right? They know how to react, what the expectations are. And then once you really have that set, and to your point, then you've created that foundation where when things are changing in real life and when things are hitting you quickly, everybody knows how to react, right?
Yeah. I mean, that even goes down to, when we receive something in the warehouse, we have an extra quality check. Does the box look like it's been tampered with? Is the tape secure? And if anything looks out of place, if the product doesn't even look like it looked the last time it showed up, it goes right on a shelf and we're not using that product for our customer. And that's the kind of tactical approach. That's that, boots on the ground, making sure, but then your team is, even before it gets to our warehouse, your team's doing that work. So
yeah, again, right, we could go on for hours and hours because really what you just did, right, is you just kind of clicked into, that statement you made earlier about, the trusted supply chain. You could say those words, but there are so many different aspects to actually making sure that it's trusted, right? And that what's actually hitting the dock is what should be at the dock.
Trust but verify.
Yeah.
Always.
So we just talked a lot about the foundation, right? And the importance of setting that foundation, which really tees me up for my next question, which is, what role does technology play in advancing the logistics mission?
So with the size and complexity of the mission that I serve, it's really integrating that commercial technology into the customer environment is table stakes for us, right? We have to be able to do that, securely and keeping system integrity. I think those are two important components in my environment. And so we have an ERP system that's integrated with our warehouse management system, and that allows for that transparent end-to-end supply chain, right? The customer wants visibility into where's my stuff. They want, optimize workflow. They want to have the data kind of at their fingertips in the dashboard environment. And so we have to have those things just showing up, coming in the door.
Once again, right, what you're talking about almost sounds simple, right? But I'm struck by the fact that when you're talking about technology, you were talking there principally about a few key points, right? You were talking about customer, right? You were talking about the warehouse, right, where you actually have your warehouse staff, right? And of course, we can kind of go on and on from there. We have, our supply chain staff, we have our cyber staff, we have, right, all of these people who make it possible, right? And so I think, one thing that's so important that I think maybe some people forget to talk about is the people, right? And we talked before about process, right? But if you just overlay technology, right, without really tight processes, right, without the people knowing what they need to do, right, then it's really just technology for technology's sake, right?
I think the secret sauce here is it's not just the technology, like you said, it's the empowered people. So not just upskilled people, it's empowering them to make decisions and do their job and further the mission. It's optimized processes. And then that leads to the technology being able to be overlaid and creating sustainable innovation, right? You're not just throwing a tool at something or a shiny penny at something. You're really putting that robust, holistic look for innovation in there.
Yeah, I mean, you said it again, right? Empowered people, right? Upskilling people, right? Without all of that, again, it's technology for technology's sake. Everybody likes to talk now about generative AI, right? About cloud, et cetera. And those are really important technology advancements. And I love that we are now at the point where you and I are able to layer those in, right? But I really think in listening to you, right, it's a good reminder of that's really what we're doing now. We're layering in really advanced technology, but it's only possible because, again, go back to that foundational element, right? The fact that you talked about that human element of, opening the box, investigating, right? None of those tools really make sense unless you're really orienting those tools so it can help people do those things more effectively, right?
Yeah. One of the pieces of technology that we're using for our customer is data-driven decision-making with AI, right? So we have 13 years of customer data. It's not only helping us make internal decisions at GDIT, it's helping us make decisions for our customer out in our worldwide mission.
Yeah, and again, it's a really exciting place to be, isn't it? The fact that, as I mentioned before, that we can layer in that type of technology into our processes, right? Especially at a place with GDIT where, we're not talking about, technology in theory, right? These are practical, real pieces of technology in AI, cloud, software factory, digital engineering, technology development where we're using it out there in order to make the mission happen. Thanks so much for joining us today, Melissa. Really enjoyed our conversation about logistics and supply chain.
Thanks for having me.
So the conversation clearly underscored the complexity of running an effective supply chain with systems, processes, and people. And what's meaningful, I think, to our customers, for those who need help maturing their supply chains, is that GDIT is already running proven state-of-the-art solutions for itself, its clients, and with our sister business units in General Dynamics. So what we do is not theoretical. These are proven systems and processes that exist that we are constantly leveraging and improving. To hear more, please visit us at gdit.com/perspectives.